Welcome to Amazon Answers. I'm Jared, and today we are discussing the Sensational Wonder Woman series. All right. So what this was right here, this was an anthology series that came out. I think it was on digital first in celebration of when Wonder Woman turned 80. So it's basically a bunch of one shots put together that talk about how awesome Diana is. So I figured this looks kind of fun. And since it's like an anthology series, I actually figured I'd pull the series up on DC Universe, go through it. I'll talk about some fun moments because there's something in here that when I was back when I was reading the Tom King Wonder Woman series, and what's up, Bruce Wayne, NJ, and Parker and Cameron. So here's the thing. All right. So here's what I'm talking about. So hang on. Let me share. Hang on. Entire screen? No, right here. All right, here we go. So here's what I'm talking about. So we have Sensational Wonder Woman, the first series. So there's an issue of Tom King's Wonder Woman. I think it's like issue 5 and 6 or something like that, where Wonder Woman is under an illusion where she's like a 1950s era housewife. So, by the way, Bruno Redondo's Wonder Woman is gorgeous. I freaking love the way he draws Wonder Woman. Like, look at that. Isn't that great? So, look at this image. It's Diana as a 1950s housewife, and by someone that looks just like Steve, but his name is Douglas. Because remember, this was during the peak Wonder Woman era where she wasn't married to, or she wasn't in a relationship with Steve, at all. And then, so what we're seeing here is that much like the travesty that was Tom King's Wonder Woman, by the way, this came out before Tom King, obviously. She is under an illusion by Dr. Psycho, and she starts to break out of it when she saves a kid from a car, and the car crumples. And yeah, exactly, Parker. It gets really good. So she breaks out of the nightmare and then takes out by Psycho, and this looks so sadistic. I'm like, oh god. And she's saved by Hawkgirl, and it's Wonder Woman teaming up with Hawkgirl. And she's cutting her way out of the illusion. They take out Dr. Psycho like that and fly away. So that's the first part where I'm like, where have I seen this before? Oh, wait a minute. You gotta be kidding me. That's when I was like, did you really just, because King has a tendency of doing that. He'll copy so many other people's stories, but claim he didn't mean to. So that's odd. And I don't understand that, but I don't know. We'll see. So then we get my favorite one called Better Nature. So Wonder Woman is traveling to War World because Artemis has been fighting on War World. Hey, Dr. Psycho looks suspiciously cute. All right, worried. Yeah, basic, copy someone else's homework, but make it as your own. Yeah, I know. That's why I'm like, wait a minute here, bro. But with this one, this was my favorite because she goes to, because Artemis was because Hippolyta sends Diana to War World to bring back Artemis because Artemis is fighting in the gladiatorial pits. Diana shows up, and this is drawn by Bruno Redondo. Each chapter is drawn by a different artist and different writer team. And then, so this is basically Wonder Woman against Artemis in a gladiator match. And again, Gladiator Wonder Woman is just such a cool concept that I can't believe it's never been done as an Elseworld story at all. It's it's there. The story is there. And obviously we get to they're telling her to kill on War World. Obviously Diana's not going to do that. And it turns out, I love this image of Diana standing up against Mongol. Cameron says DC could really lean into the fact that Dr. Psycho being a creep, and now while he may not look at Diana as terrified of him the most. Yeah, I would. That would be very interesting. I would say. I do like this where it again. I like the size difference. and then Diana and Artemis basically take out Mongol and escape. And it turns out, because what had happened was with the Bana, the Amazons were like teleported away to Warworld, and obviously Artemis went after them, and she had to essentially the Amazons were killed by Mongols, so Artemis found a way to get Diana's attention so that Diana would come and save her so that she could take out Mongol. And then I love this where Diana goes to Artemis, so you trusted I wouldn't kill you? And then Artemis says, yeah, you're Wonder Woman, aren't you? And she goes, yes, all those things you said back at the stadium about me being like a bad princess. He goes, oh, I meant every word of it. But again, I like this because it shows how Diana relates to the other Amazons, particularly Artemis. Because if you know Diana's history with Artemis, particularly the fact that Artemis replaced Diana as Wonder Woman in her first appearance, there's some bad. I wouldn't say there's bad blood. There's just some complications, let's put it to this way. So that's the Gladiator story, and the Gladiator story again is my favorite because it deals again. Diana will always go to like extreme lengths to protect people, and now in this one, it is pretty much a beach story. And again, the cool thing about this series is, again, it really just expands on how Diana relates to the world. We see like Wonder Woman action figures and such, and it's dealing with Wonder Woman being more of like here's the interesting thing here. This is where we get Mindy Mayer back, which, as you guys know, she was in post-crisis Wonder Woman as Diana's publicist. They have a complicated relationship type of deal. Yeah, they kind of do. And over here with Mindy Mayer, she was Diana's publicist in the Perez run, and she was killed like early in the Perez run, if I remember correctly. So it's cool seeing her being brought back into canon. Then over here we have Wonder Woman with Bruce Wayne, and the ice villains attack this museum. And I love where like there happens to be like an Amazonian like exhibit, so Diana takes the spear and shield and like just takes him and fight. And that's the advantage about these series. And by the way, this is the one where she gets to save Batman, which I definitely like. Yes, I miss Mindy too. Exactly. Now, here's the thing. All these are just really small snippets. They're just really small like series that you really don't have to like that you could read outside of continuity. But I believe some of them are out of continuity. And there's one here that definitely has been retconned to a degree, and I'll explain that when we get there. I think it's the one after this one. And this one deals with Diana's at a climate change conference, and then all of a sudden it starts like snowing and hailing. And then it turns out Wonder Woman encounters the Wonder Woman villain named Blue Snowman, who is basically a snowman that causes like that's like snowy, I guess. This is the one that Diana was apparently like, what's the word? That Diana was apparently like problematic about. Hey, what's up, Battle Goon? Good to see you. So she fights. She basically fights Blue Snowman, and then we see like also Veronica Cale. And it's like, again, Veronica Cale is Wonder Woman's version of Lex Luthor. Like, she's the one that maybe finances all the Wonder Woman villains, but Diana can't prove it, a lot like Lex Luthor. And I really feel like that's the best way they could go with the Wonder Woman movie, is bring in, like, Cale. And then, so here's the one. So in this story, we have this, like, retirement home, essentially. And it's this woman that's a Wonder Woman fan. Now, here is the thing. So it's called Ultimate Fangirl. It's written by Amy Chu. And so for this one, here's the interesting thing for this story. And then Balgoon says, man, Blue Snowman is a weird villain for Wonder Woman. They went from evil, gender-neutral Tony Stark stealing ice weapons to war opportunity to now a joke villain for DC. I know. That was the funny part about that, like, about that Pride anthology, because everyone's like, "Oh, look, Wonder Woman's in a Pride anthology," and I go, "Actually, look at it." And it's like, it's because that's my whole thing. If Wonder Woman's not in the Pride anthology, DC has not acknowledged it. But anyway, so what we see is someone's like, so someone's like, "Oh, is that a real tiara?" She goes, "Of course it's real. So do you live in Themyscira?" And then we find out, so that back in World War One, but I love how like the flashbacks have like the old comic like dots in here. And then World War II, we see Wonder Woman. Now, here's the thing. This is before it was retconned that Diana was Wonder Woman 2, essentially, and Hippolyta was World War II Wonder Woman. I mean, retconned back. But the way I could explain this, like to factor this into continuity if I had to, was that, oh, yes, NJ, absolutely. But with the way I would explain this, sort of, is look, Hippolyta was this Wonder Woman, and then she probably told Diana about this particular woman, and then you see she even helps Wonder Woman fight, and then she's brought back to the retirement home, and it's basically like she's going to be like essentially kicked out because it's like she can't pay, and then they tell the story about Wonder Woman like serving World War II. Hippolyta serving World War II makes more sense than Diana. Yeah, exactly. Because it's like when you factor in, because here's the way I kind of explained it back when it happened in like episode 2 of Amazon Answers, as a matter of fact. The way I kind of explained it is, look, DC is determined that Wonder Woman was on the Justice Society in World War II. So, of the two, because here's the thing. When Diana shows up in Man's World in the Perez run, which is still like canon per se, or even in year 1 now, here it's like, why is she a fish out of water and such? And why does like no one understand? It's like it doesn't really like work when you think about it. If like Diana is like World War II and then she went back to Man's World, then she came back. I outlined this in a video and I go, yeah, it makes more sense for her to inherit the role from her mother. Plus, explains where the whole Wonder Woman name came from. I feel like they are different villains. Blue Snowman's over the top joke. Yeah, you could kind of do that. It's like they all have their own advantages. I'll give you that. And then I feel like there should be a Just Side Wonder Woman crossover, Ancient Myth, and yes, exactly that you could do and have it be Hippolyta. In fact, what's really cool is that because I'm reading the Jimenez run of Wonder Woman because I have the omnibus. Yes, the last Wonder Woman omnibus that I pre-ordered is the Byrne omnibus, which is waiting for me at my LCS, but I'm going to get it at the end of the month. But what's cool about this, there's an entire issue included in this where it talks about Hippolyta's like influence throughout Man's World as Wonder Woman, like founding essentially a Girl Scouts troop, like helping World War II. There's like a lot that like Hippolyta does specifically. And that's what I loved about Jimenez's run on Wonder Woman. And I will talk about that later. How would you say Hippolyta differs in personality? Well, Hippolyta is obviously more mature than Diana. She's more like knowing and maybe a little more regal than Diana, because it's like, again, Hippolyta is used to being the queen of the Amazons, and she's to sound stereotypical, she's seen some stuff. So because remember, Hippolyta has existed as long as there have been Amazons. So, and Diana is a little bit more naive, but maybe more hopeful, I guess. The overall feeling is that Diana being a legacy character is very much hated by the fandom, as it makes first off, it's not necessarily hated, NJ, but it's like, let me put it this way. In order for, I think that this is the best compromise. And Battle Goon, yes, essentially that, but be careful when you say spunky rebel, because that's where you get with Diana punching Hippolyta Tom King moment, because that's the thing. Diana's not exactly she's like maybe a rebel against society, but she's not a rebel against her mother, if that makes sense. She's very much as respectful. So then in this, we get like this particular woman had like bonded with Diana. Diana brought her back to Themyscira. They partied in like the 80s. Was there an episode of Small? Yeah, I think there was an episode of Smallville where that happened. So her name is Katie, by the way. We're like, Katie showed Diana how to have fun in man's world. And the sniveling like head of the retirement home basically is saying, hey, we're going to have to like send you away. Like you're being kicked out because of the money. And it's like, the funny part is that this particular woman, like, they have she's like, she touches the lasso of truth and says what she really means. And she goes, she basically says, you must have had a hand in this. I always knew you were a duplicitous, low-class sneak. You and your goody-goody attitude calling all these stupid old fools. So then Diana shows up and she goes, hello, Katie. Now, again, the way you can rectify this with the new canon is Hippolyta told Diana about like Katie. And it's like, again, the way because I said a long time ago, the way I would have retconned it is have Diana go to like a Wonder Woman museum or a museum of the Amazons, and they have like a portrait of Diana, of Wonder Woman in World War II, and go, they always confuse my mother and I. Parks, I like the compromise anyway. Gives Hippolyta something cool she did. Plus, it explains why Hippolyta was so hesitant for Diana to go out to Man's World, because she's like, no, Man's World is like brutal because she was in World War II. Conceivably, Hippolyta maybe liberated a few camps. So of course she'd be like, Man's World is brutal, but then it lets Diana have a moment to like teach her mother something about the new Man's World. Personally, I just like the Lex idea, but I think it can be done well potentially as one of them is grounded in history, unlike Batman. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing there. Why would they give Diana a cape? Personally, I think Diana with a cape actually looks really good. I would like more of like a cloak around her, maybe some like fur on there. I kind of like that. I like the idea of yeah, exactly. That was like my idea of how to retcon that. In this case, she'll be Hippolyta's friend and won't want to see her and not Diana. Yeah, but you could go with the whole she's old, so she can't like tell Diana and Hippolyta apart, because Diana and Hippolyta do look very similar. So that's the way you could rectify that, I think. It doesn't create a plot hole with the male society members. Not necessarily. So again, it's like Diana buys the retirement home so Katie can stay, and she makes it free and then kicks out that one evil person. Then we see Diana playing soccer with people, and it's like Diana just hanging out with people. I really like that. I think Diana with a cape looks good for being regal. Let me put it this way. Yeah, exactly. If it's a formal event, put the cape on. If not, she doesn't need it. I do like the idea of like, for a change, Wonder Woman having a cloak, but in terms of like this, I'm like, okay, that's fine. I basically broke this down on the episode of Super Wonder that will be coming out tomorrow on Her World's Finest. To me, Diana with no cape, it gives her a different vibe than Superman and Batman. Yeah, that's true. She doesn't need it. In this story, the Amazons invade like a museum in Man's World, and then it turns out they're under the influence of Queen Bee, another Wonder Woman villain. You can explain this by time travel too. Yeah, exactly. Some outfits, the cape looks amazing. Yeah, exactly. It just depends on like the context. Like with her having a sword and a shield, it really depends on the context. And Diana travels to Themyscira, and then sees Vanessa, and then you see Hippolyta's under the mind control of Queen Bee. And it's Queen Bee and like all of Wonder Woman villains like Blue Snowman, Dr. Poison, Gigantin, Silver Swan. So it's Wonder Woman fighting her entire like rogues gallery, which I like. Is Queen Bee a Wonder Woman villain or a JLA villain? It may be low level. Yeah, exactly. It may be low level, a JLA villain, but they've also kind of made her a Wonder Woman villain as well. So I'm like, okay, that kind of works. But the point is like her mind controlling the Amazons. That's actually a really cool idea. And it's like Wonder Woman battling all of her rogues. And then it's like she needs to like, she can't like attack the Amazons or anything like that. But I also love where she forces Giganta into like the lake. The river surrounding Themyscira, where there are giant sharks, and the sharks jump out and attack Giganta. I love this because she's like, yeah, because Diana can talk to animals, so she uses that to like distract her, so she can get a shot off on Queen Bee, while also the Wonder Woman villains fight Queen Bee as well in the what's the word? in the arena. I really like this. I hate Vanessa as Silver Swan. She needs to get back to normal and be a Wonder Girl. Yeah, that's what I would kind of go with her being a Wonder Woman. I like how the DCAMU redeemed Silver Swan at the end of Wonder Woman Bloodlines. Yeah, even though Wonder Woman Bloodlines is a crap movie overall, so it's still like Wonder Woman, like essentially hanging out with her mom. So in this one, Wonder Woman is doing like a visitation, and she meets this like Instagram model. And so it turns out that this Instagram model went missing, and it turns out like she's like it's kind of like she was like a party girl that was like taken over by like a witch or something like that. And again, all of these deal with like Wonder Woman's, like, again, like the Orlando run I said last week, these stories each deal with like a component of Wonder Woman. And this one very much is, again, her empathy, where she always wants to look for the good in people. And it's like with this, she wants to not like have to like hurt this girl. Current Gigantic is very intelligent. Yes, exactly. They've undone the she gets stupid as she grows. Yeah, it's very much not. It's not like she gets stupid anymore. They have very much undone that. And then we have the cover gallery. So that's like Sensational Wonder Woman. And that's the thing. They should do more of these mini-series that like have like small stories basically dealing with like how Diana affects the world and such. What's the story of Vanessa? Do they live together in this timeline? I think they've gone back to Diana lived with the Capitelluses, and so ipso facto, yes, she did. At least as far as like I'm like aware, or like they leave it like open that they could have. Cheetah I used to see as Lizard, but Cheetah's more like a Sabretooth meets Venom. Yeah, exactly. If Cheetah really wanted to, she could reform and get. Yeah, exactly. Cheetah is not this like closet hero that like Greg Rucka tries to paint her out to be. She's really not. Thoughts on Gigantic Smart? How do you feel about? I feel like it works because she uses magic to grow. I am interested to see how that works out. I did like this miniseries. Yeah, and it should be another miniseries based on that, I think. They revealed the DC KO matchups yesterday in general. They're okay. And, well, at the very least, Scott Snyder basically confirmed that, like, not all of these are going to be one-on-one fights. Some of these will be like free for alls per se. And I'm like, okay, I guess that kind of works. But I'm just like, why? And some of those matchups make no sense to me. Like, oh, we're gonna do like Diana versus Starro, and I go, what? That doesn't really work that well. Could have been entertaining to see Giganta's origin as a gorilla to play on the big screen. They could still go with that, but I'm not exactly sure that like. Because it would make her seem stupid, and I'm not sure DC would want to do that. Like maybe, well, because they're going with the more fantastical, I guess they could do that. Don't take this event matchups too serious. Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm like, I don't care. It's like, I'll read it for fun, but it's like, all right, fine. It's the part that I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird is that when they lose, they all get turned into like, what's the word? A statue. And I'm like, so it's like Smash Brothers. Like, no, I don't really dig that well. To me, DC Care will be fun, but not a deep story. I wouldn't care for those. Yeah, exactly. Me praying Gigantic gets the respect she really needs. I hope Superman struggles to win and puts up a great fight. I don't think any of these are going to be straight up like, oh, we're going to like completely destroy like every single. I don't think. I think there's going to be more of like it's not going to be like, oh, this person bodied that person. No, they're not going to necessarily do that. It's going to be for the story there. I think Snyder respects Diana, but is hamstrung by DC company stuff. But he is like one of the head creatives at DC right now. So it could still like work out really well for us. And poor Carol matched up with Batman. Remember, death metal is a Wonder Woman centered story. So it's like he does give Wonder Woman a lot of really good good stories if he wants to. We think of Jay Garrick versus Cheetah. That's an interesting one, and it's an interesting choice of Flash, Jay Garrick. And I'm like, well, okay, I can kind of see where they're going with that. That kind of works. I just need to see how is this event going to fully turn out, because hey, it could be bad. Don't get me wrong, it could be bad, but I'm not at the doom and gloom stage of this yet. I really just want to see how this turns out, because it could be really fun. My issue with Death Metal is it was Wonder Woman versus Batman who laughs plus God powers, whereas Wonder Woman versus her own rogues. I know, but it's again, that was they're operating under the assumption that people don't really care about Wonder Woman's rogues, and you see that's the problem there, because if you go as opposed to what's the word? As opposed to just inventing new Wonder Woman villains, they should be developing Wonder Woman's rogues and making them more well-known. You definitely could do it. I think Scott has a soft spot for Diana as a character. Do you agree? I think that Scott respects Wonder Woman more than people give him credit for. Again, because Wonder Woman was the main character of Death Metal, and it felt very much like Wonder Woman. And I really appreciate that. People don't care about Wonder Woman's rogue because they don't give them the spotlight. Yeah, exactly. So that's why I'm instead of having people invent new villains, they should tell people you can't create any new villains or new characters. Just stick with what's available. That's why Britt and I ever wrote Wonder Woman. We've talked about this in terms of creating new villains. We wouldn't do that for a long time. All the characters we would use are pre-existing characters. Nobody cares about the Batmans who are laughing, particularly nowadays, because DC pushed them too hard. I feel like they should develop one of those rogues. Yeah, no, exactly. That's my point, Parker. And that's the thing where too many, where Tom King even complained about that. And I go, then why are you creating a new villain? Oh, it's gonna be Wonder Woman's Joker. How about you make how about you use Veronica Cale? Because Veronica Cale's story could have been a better Veronica Cale could with Cale. You definitely could have done the whole Sovereign story instead of the Sovereign with Veronica Cale. But it's no, you were narcissistic enough to go, I want to create my own character. No. Like I said, Psycho to be the villain Diana is terrified of the most. Yes, exact. That is good. I feel like Dr. Psycho may be the villain Diana is most disgusted by. Yeah, so that's the other thing. It's it really depends on if you do it right, Psycho can be her Joker. In many ways, he kind of is the sadistic villain. I pray he will. Yeah, I think that I don't think he's gonna straight up have them be taken down, because Cheetah has fought a Flash before in the past, particularly in the new 52 or such. So it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility that Diana could even win. By the way, did you guys see that Kelly Sue DeConnick confirmed that they're making more volumes of Wonder Woman Historia? And I'm oh, yes. We're getting more Historia, ladies and gentlemen. Isn't that the best? Isn't that the greatest? We're getting more. Tom King is a pathetic man-child making a story just for his worldview. If you see his preview of the new Wonder Woman issue, his Mouseman snap the tiara when it's... What? Okay, I need to see this. Okay, let me see this. All right, Wonder Woman 25. Did it end on Diana's birth? Yes, it did, in terms of Historia. Yeah, we're finally getting more. Yes, exactly. That's the good part to look at it, Parker. We're getting more Wonder Woman stories. Preview. Because it's... Okay, let me see this. This is... So it's yeah, he snaps Wonder Woman. He snaps the tiara in half. Let me see this. Where is it? I don't see it. Let me see here, because it's preview news. Anyway, the point is, it's really, he snaps the tiara when it's tossed at him. That is so stupid. A copy of the DCAU homework and make it look like it's their own. I don't think so. I don't think that they should copy anything from the DCAU because that severely disrespected Diana. But that is interesting. But yeah, Parker. Yeah, we're getting so this could be a story. I like talking about like Diana's childhood because the first one was about Hippolyta's rise to power as queen of the Amazons and the different tribes, which I really, really, really love that. I really love that. At least copy the Cadmus arc, and that's it. That yeah, you could do that, but do not copy anything Wonder Woman from the DCAU because otherwise it will be like Diana's a bat simp. And trust me, the problem with the DCAU is that they forgot they were writing other characters other than Batman because all of a sudden Batman's the key to everything. And I go, no, that is freaking stupid. But yeah, yeah, plus that gives me the excuse of reading ancient stories of the Amazons. Yeah, exactly. I feel like DCAU Dan was kind of pathetic when you compare it to the comics. Oh yeah, and Giganta, fingers crossed, God respects her. Yeah, I think he definitely will. I mean, let me put it this way: I haven't seen anything yet to think he will disrespect them. And again, the very fact that Scott Snyder's big story of DC death metal was a Wonder Woman story. Anytime I've seen Scott Snyder handle Wonder Woman in main continuity, it has been with reverence and respect. So, granted, that could change. However, I'm not at the point where I'm like okay, this is gonna be horrible. I'm not at that point yet. So I'm just gonna I'm going to what's the word? Wait and see. That's what I'm gonna go. Wait and see. So it's like, but I just can't believe. So he snaps the tiara. Just cancel the damn series already and get a better writer on it. Jeez. I think Giganta will nearly beat Suman. Suman will win. Diana will nearly lose, but in the end, make Sushi. I bet Cheetah beats Jake Eric. Yeah, I would imagine if it comes down. I think my prediction is it comes down to the Trinity, or at least Superman and Wonder Woman, and then Wonder Woman willfully forfeits, and she goes, "It has to be you, Cal," and then Superman wins the tournament. That's kind of what I think would be fun. Would be a good idea in terms of at least respecting the Trinity, but also doing something new and expanding the story. I think. At least in terms of that. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Let's see. What other things can we discuss? Balagoon says, I don't know if Batman will make it, only because, and this might sound odd, there's a picture of Diana kneeling the Joker so hard his neck breaks. Oh, yeah. I mean, maybe. It's a cover for... Yeah, but it's just a cover. Covers don't necessarily indicate what the story in the issue is going to be. I mean, it really depends. And now, again, it's as they brought up, could DC completely flop it? Yeah, of course. But it's I haven't seen enough at the point where I'm it's cause for concern. Let me put it to you that way. That's the way I'm gonna that's the way I'm gonna say it. Apologies for me saying something that might be controversial about Cheeto being... No. Battlegoon, it's all good here. As you're respectful, so you don't really have to you don't have to apologize. It's all good. It's all good. But yeah, so what else do you guys want to talk about? This Wonder Woman related? It doesn't even have to be about Sensational Wonder Woman. We can talk about anything Wonder Woman related. If there's any news you guys want to talk about, because I still maintain that. I feel that bringing up something that could trigger. Oh, trust my whole. I'm the guy that keeps talking about how useless Lois is. If I was concerned about triggering people, that went out the window a long time ago. What about the Cheetah book? I haven't read it yet, but the thing about it, it's like it's not really selling well. That's the interesting thing. In fact, you guys want to go through the sales here? Let's do this. ICV2. Let's do this. Okay, so let me pull this up. Sign in. Let me sign in. All right, there you go. And it's frustrating only because the book is slow. I heard it's slow, but you should totally read it. It's so freaking fun. Yeah, I really want to. It's on my pull list. So, and I have like the first issue on here. I'm just signing into ICV2. Do you think James Gunn will do a better Maxwell Lord than the DC? What do you mean? Do I think he will do a better Maxwell than the DCU? It's in the DCU. So it's but it's like, if you mean but by DC's, he's not going to do the corrupt one, Lego Master. He's just doing like the morally ambiguous one. How do you feel about the Rebirth comics? And I saw your post and reposted with Twitter. Where the New 52 did better? Well, the New 52. Oh, you meant DCEU. Okay, that's fine. But so in terms of like New 52, by the way, so if you look at the graphic novel sales, it turns out that the Absolute books were the top selling graphic novels of August. So Absolute Wonder Woman was like number 2. So hey, NJ, that's some like positivity for you, because DC also really cares about the graphic novel sales, and Absolute Wonder Woman Volume 1 like completely destroyed the trade paperback, at least, and the hardcover was number 14. So it did really well, which of course is because it's Absolute Wonder Woman. It's a fantastic series. I'm just trying to pull up these sales so we can go over that. Okay, top 20 comics. All right, so let's do this. I'm going to share my screen real quick. This is because your boy has an ICV2 Pro account. So we have here. So here's Absolute Wonder Woman 11, number 13. Still good. It's not bad at all. Again, still good. So then, how do you feel about Snyder saying in an AMA that Diana is no chump in DCKO? I certainly hope not, because she's a warrior. So I figure this will be right up her alley. For Cheetah's sake, let's hope it does well, so we get more Cheetah, maybe a solo book. Here's the problem. So that's the other reason why I'm bringing this up, NJ, because if you go to Cheetah, hang on, let me do that. Hang on, here. Cheetah is 125 here, so it's space 125. If you guys want to feel good, look at where Trinity is. 134. It keeps dropping like 30, at least 30 spaces, because the last one was at 104. So get this. I think that there's a good possibility that this series flops even further and gets into, because if it drops off this chart, that is very telling, particularly in terms of sales. And in terms of Wonder Woman, let me see, Wonder Woman, let me pull that up. Wonder Woman 24 is 85. And this confirms my suspicion that the only reason why the last issue of Wonder Woman was like 54 is because Sampere was back on the book. I think DC will learn the wrong lesson. No one likes Wonder Woman, not that Tom King's bad writer. Okay, Battlegoon, here's the refutation to that. Absolute Wonder Woman still sells fantastically. And we're at the point a year later when you can't take it's the absolute hype. Because if you look at, like, let's say Absolute Martian Manhunter, that came out a while ago, and that isn't really doing as well. So guess what? When you deal with like when you deal with yeah, exactly, worry. What that communicates to DC is that it's not the brand of Wonder Woman that's the problem. It's the way you're approaching her. Because you've already seen Absolute Wonder Woman is one of the top selling DC books. Like, that's objectively true according to sales. That is numerically and objectively true. So, and yes, I do think they have the brains, because DC at least is a business, as I always say on the show. So when you deal with like a business, you can't tell me they're not looking at this like, huh. And then particularly with the other Tom King book not doing well, and by other Tom King book, I mean the Trinity book, like completely flopping hard. This should be a wake-up call to DC that A, no one cares about Wonder Woman's daughter, and two, you need to reevaluate how you handle this character, because it's like, she one of her books that's like an Elseworlds like extreme book is being critically hailed. It's won multiple Eisners, while again the main Wonder Woman series is the multi-Eisner award losing. It keeps losing Eisners. So every time it's nominated for one, it keeps losing it. So I'm like, at some point you gotta look at it like, I think it's time to move on. That's why I think that there's a possibility that, well, let me put it this way: if this series falls, if the main Wonder Woman book falls below 100, then I think they are going to start reevaluating some things. So we'll see how it does when we get the September numbers at the end of the month. But when we get to that point, if it gets to the point where they're like, where it drops below 100, I really do think they will like end the series. Kal-El says, I need my man Superman to come on top because I'm a punk rocker. Okay. Absolute Wonder Woman selling so well. Yes. Do you think? Yes, I do think it's going to do it. I really feel like the Chia Seeds, but I wonder if it should start a more interesting moment and then go back. Probably, I would say so. It's like you could have it where like they're already on the watchtower and like being chased by like security robots, and then it's like Cheetah going, I bet you're wondering how I got here, and then it goes back. The only way Superman can lose in DC care is either Krypton or nerf him. No, magic. It's like Superman is not as invulnerable as people think he is. Yeah, so that's where really we stand on this, because again, the very fact that Absolute Martian Manhunter is not necessarily, because Absolute Martian Manhunter on number 5 is at 99. So it's like that further refutes it's just the Absolute books, because there's an Absolute series that should be doing well, but it's not. So it's like, look, at what point does DC look at this and go, oh, wait a minute, if this proves that like a Wonder Woman book can do this? I hear that the comics that focus on Superman and Wonder Woman did way better than the Rebirth comics, at least from what I heard. Oh, yeah, and Britt and I talked about that on the sales. Like, when you look at like Superman Wonder Woman number 1, that was like 94 to 100,000 units sold. Superman and Lois, 30,000. It didn't even debut. The number 1 issue for Superman and Wonder Woman was like 17th place. The one for Superman and Lois was like 80. That should tell you something. Tom King fans. Oh no, but here's the thing. No, NJ. There's not enough Tom King fans in order to stick it above 100, as we're seeing here. And so I'm like, yeah, at a certain, there's not enough of them. There's just not, because if there were enough of them, his books should be selling so much better than they do. But there's not. It's just eventually it will fall below this, because that's what normally happens. While the numbers for Rebirth are that bad, huh? Crazy. The only reason why it looks like it was successful is because Rebirth was double shipped. So it looked like it was selling more books. But overall, it completely like sabotaged all the momentum that DC had. And even DiDio, when he like left DC, he was talking about this, and he goes, the thing that didn't make sense about Rebirth is that we went back to what made us want to do the reboot in the first place. So I'm like, yeah, that's kind of how that like fell apart or something like that. He doesn't fit Wonder Woman to Tom King. He doesn't fit DC in general, but But yeah, we'll go with Wonder Woman. Exactly. He doesn't get Wonder Woman. He doesn't even get Steve Trevor, but it's like, well, I put this way, he only cares about Steve Trevor. That's what I would tell DC. I'm like, look, this isn't a Wonder Woman run. It's a Steve Trevor run that's disguised as a Wonder Woman run. That's the problem. Did Rebirth come to be because they wanted to go back to nostalgia? Yes, exactly. That's why, because you had too many nostalgic like writers and fans that were like, no, this isn't Superman. This isn't this. This isn't that. Case in point, the fact that they had like the writer that they had some writers say that like it call like New 52 Superman fake Superman or like fake Wonder Woman and such. That's the thing there. That's the key point here. That is like really, really, really weird. And that was the point where now, are all of the Rebirth books like bad? No, absolutely not. Like Green Lantern was superb. But when it comes to the majority of them, yeah, I would say they're all like bad or like very low selling books. So it's like, it's a wonder why Rebirth really fell apart when you really look at it. What are your thoughts on the contest? Which Wonder Woman book is that, or like the concept of the contest? Because it's like, in terms of like the idea of the contest, I do like that, where it's like the best of us is going to earn the right to be the Amazon champion. Did you see the preview of 25 Mouseman catching the speeding tiara and crushing it? Yeah, I know. Mouseman crushing the tiara. Tom King really wants his big, like, his virtual OC to be like this badass, but he's not. And I'm like, I'm like, no, this is freaking dumb. So you're telling me he crushes Diana's tiara? That, like, no, absolutely not. That is utter stupidity. I'm just going to tell you that right there. If he wanted to, he could do Steve Trevor and Argus or something like that. But here's the thing. No one would buy that book because no one gives a crap about Steve Trevor. That's the other thing. The Wonder Woman story where she loses to Artemis. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's okay. I get why they wanted to do that, because they wanted to like Death of Superman, Wonder Woman. And considering it was either this or the R word of Wonder Woman, I'll take this. James Gunn doesn't need Tom King to make a good super. No, he doesn't need Tom King. The only reason why he's doing it is because he likes his books. That's why. Tom King wants to prove a weak man can crush a goddess due to his insecurity. Yeah, exactly. That's the quiet part out loud, Battle Goon. That's the quiet part out loud for sure. And I'm like, and you know what? At a certain point, I was just like, I'm done with it. Because again, if you guys look back at my older content, like before the run started, I was actually very hopeful, because previous to this, I wouldn't say I was a Tom King fan, but I was like a like tolerate her. But it's like, as Jim from Weird Science says, whenever I review the issues with him, he goes, everyone likes Tom King until he writes your favorite character. And then because when he wrote Wonder Woman, obviously Wonder Woman's my favorite comic book character of all time, I started to look back and see, oh, he was actually crap on Batman and crap on this, crap on this, crap on this. It's all crap. That's what it is. It's all crap. But I'm like, I just can't believe that they're letting him do whatever he wants like this. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. This is the most ridiculously stupid series I have ever seen. And it's like, that's why I hope that this series flops hard, because if you notice, this is the only comic series, as far as I know, that Tom King is doing. So hopefully he gets rid of. I hate some of his stuff, like he did with Batman. Yeah, exactly. It's like, you hate it. It's like you tolerate some of his stuff until you read Heroes in Crisis, and then it's like, no, absolutely not. The way they show Diana's expression, like she was scared or shocked by Mouseman's strength. Can you imagine one of them being afraid of freaking Mouseman? I know. It's like, look at how powerful Mouse. Just wait until Tom King introduces the matriarch. Yeah, I know. I never liked Tom King as a writer for Wonder Woman, and even when I was a Batman fan for a short while, I still never liked his stories. But this is just my opinion. Like, yeah, me too. But as soon as like, I'm just like, why do I care about this? I really, it honestly, that's why I dropped the book, because it's like, look, because here's the thing. I dropped his book twice. Here's why. Hear me out on this. Because originally I didn't have Absolute Wonder Woman. That was the first time I dropped it before Absolute Wonder Woman came out. And I was like, okay, but I want to support Diana, so I resubscribed to it. Until Absolute Wonder Woman launched, and I saw how much of a like quality, like not displacement, but it's like a quality disparity, that like Absolute Wonder Woman was like so big and Tom King is like in the a-hole of history. So I was like, okay, so I don't need the main Wonder Woman anymore, so I'm just going to read Absolute Wonder Woman. What advice would you have for James Gunn to distinguish the Lex Luthor archetype from Max Lord and Veronica characters? Well, have like Max Lord not be a villain first off, and like make it so, because you can make it where Veronica Cale, make it so Veronica Cale just wants the Themyscira like artifacts and powers and like purple healing ray and such, and Diana's just in her way. You don't necessarily have to do like, I hate Diana. Remember, Mouseman scares the UN and Superman is, and now, yeah, so it's not sexist. Yeah, except Diana like kicked Mouseman's ass. I really hate the idea of framing device where Wonder Woman could beat Mouseman, and now she's weaker without Steve. I know. I like Steve as a concept for Wonder Woman, but not this whatever Tom King has made. Tom King has made Steve Wonder Man. That's really what he did. And this is really, let me put it this way, if I ever wrote Wonder Woman, here's going to be what I'm going to do to his run. And then this is going to be the Wonder Woman. I'm going to give you a live feed of the Wonder Woman fandom when Tom King leaves the book. You ready? Ready? This because I like you people. Here you go.
Excuse me, but I think this is yours.
Yeah, that's going to be the Wonder Woman fandom with Steve Trevor. When Tom King leaves, they're going to like take your demon spawn with you. And then this is going to be Wonder Woman.
Hereby complete the mission of the Amazons by ridding this world of you forever.
Yeah, that's my point there. That's definitely my point of like, no, this run is getting torn the F apart. For me, the difference of the three Kale is the hatred of magic first due to trauma of gods ruining her girl boss life and daughter. Lord, superhuman hater of supers and control freak. Yeah, exactly. That's actually a really great way to do it. That's actually a really great way to do it. But yeah, watch. At some point, King will make Steve an honorary Amazon. That we're so close to doing that. We're so close. So close. So Tom King is saying Mouseman is above Kryptonian strength because Cal couldn't do this crap. He's like, look at my character. Isn't he great? He's so awesome. This is like when Trinity first showed up and he goes, oh, she's the leader of the Justice League. And I go, oh, shut up. I really don't. Make me hate this character more than your. That's a great way to make me utterly loathe this character. And I go, no. I think King is saying Diana is that weak. Yeah, exactly. It's a bait and switch with Mouseman, I bet. Yeah, exactly. Or like Mouseman is Steve Trevor, like resurrected, but as a villain, and Wonder Woman has to kill Steve Trevor, and that's why she's so depressed. That would be an interesting way to do it. He's putting Mouseman on a pedestal, huh? Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, no one gives a crap about Mouseman. So how about you just stop? Just stop. Just leave the book. That's all you really have to do. That's really what you got to do. Just leave the book and give it to someone that actually loves this character so much. Honestly, like me. Because, look, it's like when you give the Wonder Woman IP to someone that understands and loves the character, like Kelly Thompson, like George Perez, look what you get. Steve is an honorary Amazon. Will Simone Maitress an honorary Amazon and Donna and Diana's eyes? Yeah, exactly. Cal Ellis says Mouseman is basically Condiment King like Joker character, but for Wonder Woman. Yeah, exactly, Cal. That's the point there. Well, like King is trying to make him like a big threat, and I go, he's just not. He's just really not. I don't know what are you doing, bro? This is Tom King in a nutshell, because good God, it's terrible. Also, didn't the artists for the mainline Wonder Woman run say they didn't like Tom King's writing or work? You mean didn't the artist for the mainline? You mean Semper? When did Semper say that? Because I would love to spread that if he really did say that. Because if Semper said he didn't like King's work, that's great. There's a place for joke villains, I think. Yeah, but not when you're trying to make them the big bags. I think King knows he utterly failed when it comes to the Sovereign, because no one takes the Sovereign seriously at this point. Oh, watch, he'll make it so the Sovereign augmented Mouse Man to make him strong enough to beat Wonder Woman, and I go, no. I think Tom King, despite his wealth, has many issues and writes fiction to show weak, broken men become powerful as a way of coping with his issues, like he did with Kite Man. Yeah, exactly. I only heard some artists didn't like. Well, here's the thing. According to a friend of to like John's Longbox, when I had him on my show, he brought this up. He says that like a lot of the creatives that because he has talked to some big creatives, they do not like his run. In fact, Dan DiDio is quoted as saying that Tom King's Batman run is the worst Batman run he's ever read. Marvel should have gotten their hands on Mouseman first, but for Spider-Man, yeah, I know. But yeah, so it's like the vast majority of creatives do not like Tom King's work. So I'm like, that's why I'm fairly certain that no matter who they put on the run, they're well, let me put it this way, because I've talked about this with Robert. They're not. Let's say the next Wonder Woman writer comes on. They're not going to immediately retcon stuff out. They'll do an arc of their overall story to start off, and then they'll start retconning stuff. Man, I don't think I can tolerate when God forbid Mouseman beats Diana. I'm scared, bro. I'm scared too. What have DC creative said about? I know Rucka has addressed it because someone asked him about it, and he goes, Rucka was very. Most of them have said this. They've said, and this is like, I think this quote by Rucka basically summarizes it, because they've been diplomatic about it, because they can't say, oh, it's the biggest piece of dog water I've ever seen. No, they go, it's not what I would do with the character, but I'm not the writer. That's them saying, oh, it's utterly, it's not Diana. It's when the top creatives of Wonder Woman like Rucka saying it's not what I would do with the character, that's when you know you screwed up. That's when you know you really screwed up. And it's like, no, that's not, they're basically saying that's not Diana. So I'm like, ha, 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 ha. That's what you gotta think. So it's like that. That's why I'm like, I don't doubt that creatives will come on the book and then eventually go, okay, that's not canon. That's not canon. That's not canon. That's not canon. We're undoing that. We're undoing that. We're undoing that. Your run is utter crap. And guess what? You're never going to be talking about this. Thinking of Rucka, question for you. What do you think of his Cheetah? I don't like her personally. Doesn't feel like Cheetah. She feels more like a tomboy. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. I don't think he really gets Cheetah. People give him too much credit for like how Cheetah is written, but I'm like, no. Stop trying to redeem all of Wonder Woman's villains just so you can place them together with Diana. It's utterly like, it's kind of cringe, honestly. It really is cringe. Really is. Well, at least some creators share our opinions. Yeah, and it's the big creators. It's not, according to like even like Jim from Weird Science, because he had like contacts that are still like big creators at DC, and even they do not like King's work. So it's like, yeah, it's inevitable that this run will end, and then I wouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden you start seeing a lot of his stuff gone. That's not canon. That's not canon. They pants Mouseman and Sovereign and make them like Sovereign was like an old man in an old folks home that like hallucinated. I will say about Cheetah Diana, I don't mind Diana dating a woman, but I hate shipping with Cheetah. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. I don't, because here's the thing. I'm not for Diana dating a woman just because I know what A, it leads to when it comes to the fandom, and B, not all Amazons are gay or bi. So I'm like, that's honestly erasing straight Amazons, because you can't tell me, you can't tell me. So Aphrodite helped create the Amazons. You can't tell me that she would invalidate one form of love. You can't tell me that because Aphrodite is the goddess of all love. You can't tell me she's gonna like say this is good love. That's not good love. You can't tell me she wouldn't do that. So I'm like, why can't Diana represent that part of the Amazon? She would still be an ally. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying Diana would definitely be an ally, but I just don't think she that kind of works for her character. But that's just me. That's just me. I mean, ship whoever you want, as long as it's not like shipping Diana with like a kid or something like that. You know what I'm trying to say. But it's like, as long as you're good on that. Wonder Woman has never had her own Batman, Nightfall, or All-Star Superman like great story. How is James going to show us Wonder Woman? Well, she has. It's just her version of Nightfall is the contest where like she puts on the black biker outfit. But in terms of like what stories I would use, just okay. I'm going to show you this, Kello. This is the guide. This is the guide. George Perez Wonder Woman. This should be your Bible. This is what you go for, because this is the run and the status quo where Wonder Woman was the most successful. If you go off of this and use this as the guide, even in the comics, guess what? You will inevitably get successful. In my opinion, Cheetah can be redeemed. I think the only Wonder Woman villain that can't be redeemed is Dr. Psycho. I mean, Grail can't be redeemed. The only one, Grail, for me, I see the Amazons as primarily that. Well, here's the thing. The Amazons don't exactly have the Amazons, or even the Greeks, if you want to go off of that, didn't exactly have our divisions of sexuality. So it's like, is that like, so that's kind of where you fall on that, because like Diana only dates men now. So I'm like, all right, I definitely need to read that Wonder Woman you have in your hands. So here's the thing. If I were to recommend a Wonder Woman run to read to understand the character, forever will be George Perez. This is the one. When you think of Wonder Woman in the comics nowadays, this is this. I really like Enemies to Lovers arc. Well, here's the thing, NJ. And by the way, totally fine for you to like that. I'm not like saying you can't like that or anything like that. No, it's totally fine. You're cool, NJ. So as long as you're cool, I'm cool. But it's like, I just think the Enemies to Lovers thing is overused for like people's like ships and fan fictions. But hey, if you like it, you do you. You do you. As long as you're cool, I'm cool with you. Other canons where there was more of ancient Greece, with Themyscira being one of the Amazons are connected to our world, then I think the sexual should be more diverse. Well, yeah, and it's like even the mythological Amazons back then, like, were still hanging out with dudes. So it's like, and plus remember, the Amazons had been in like man's world before they went to the island, even in the comic continuity. So it's like they have encountered men before. It's not like they have. That's what people forget. The Amazons were created. They hung out in like a Greek. So you do think they should do a DC? Yes, because the Amazons were heavily involved in that. It was so good. For me, NJ, I apologize for disagreeing. I just find it hard for me to think Diana would date a psych. Yeah, exactly. But again, this is the one. This introduces you to the Amazons, her status quo, how she relates to the Amazons, and lays the foundation for her being the ambassador and the icon. Plus, this has good Super Wonder moments because, fun fact, George Perez was a Super Wonder shipper. He wanted Superman and Wonder Woman to be together. So I'm like, there's a reason why I love you, brother. But it's like, R.I.P., man. R.I.P. But yeah, George Perez is the definitive Wonder Woman run. And that's the one that, in my mind, every Wonder Woman creative at the movies and at DC Studios need to make sure they have read cover to cover. read everything, George Perez, because that allows you to like see, okay, I can introduce this concept slowly. I can introduce this concept slowly. There you go. Did they mention or put the Trojan War in the Amazon Historia run? No, I don't think they do. I don't remember exactly, but I think I'll check that out. To be honest, I went with Themyscira within both an ancient Greek realm and many other fantasy realms. Yeah, you could do that. The Holy Wonder Woman Bible. Thanks so much. Of course. Again, Perez is the Wonder Woman guy. Because you know what happened? Here is the thing. He loved Wonder Woman. Loved her so much. Like I do. This is what happens when you put someone that genuinely has a passion for the character and loves and wants to show, here's why. If you want to see a run, Tom King, about why Diana is awesome, read this. This is the run that did it. Not your run, this one. I tend to assume the Amazons are primarily gay because I am often told the Amazons are the sole survivors of Greek culture and all by themselves, which is not something I like cut so much. But yeah, have no problem with the gay on. Yeah, exactly. It's like, look, it's like the Amazons had like interacted with man's world before that. That's why I'm like, there's bound to be at least one. There's bound to be at least one. But, and plus, here's the thing. Here's why I don't like the Amazons and Diana dating, like the dang Diana, is because Diana's not like thousands of years old with the Amazons. So they're like significantly older than her, and they see her as like their baby, essentially. You should definitely check Cheetah. Yeah, I'm going to read that definitely, 100%. 100%. I'm definitely going to read that. This is why, this is why I think George Perez should direct a new Wonder Woman. Well, George Perez is dead, so we can't do that. So it's like, I'm saying this is the run that you should always read to understand who this amazing character is. Because if you want to see why why Wonder Woman is my favorite DC superhero, read the Perez run. That's it. That's all you need to do. That is the how to write Wonder Woman instructional manual. I know many people I'm familiar with don't like the idea of Amazons liking men, but I tend to think some would be gay, bi, and some would like. Yeah, that's my point. Yeah, it's like you can't. It's like I primarily stay out of a lot of those conversations because I'm like, because I know it's inevitably going to be like. I know it's inevitably going to lead to like certain accusations that aren't true. So I'm like, I'm just going to not deal with this anymore. Though I like Rucka, is it wrong that I get frustrated with him making Diana Shades of Grey, making Diana Shades of Grey who are redeemable? Yeah, exactly. Oh no, it's not disrespect. It's totally fine. It's like, maybe you didn't know. It's all good. It's all good, Bruce Wayne. But yeah, but that's like the run followed by, honestly, Jimenez. I'm reading through this omnibus right now. It's really good. And Jimenez builds on Perez because he was heavily inspired by Perez. I want Diane to have villains to fight, not just hug out everything. Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm against, like, not all of their... We can actually have, like, irredeemable villains. Like, I'm sorry. We should have that. We just should. But yeah, that's really the point there. But what else do you guys have? Because I know fans would start a war about that, and I know that there are those who hate the idea and those who do. But knowing DC, they probably won't pick a side. They won't. Well, actually, they kind of have, because if you notice, they keep her out of all Pride books, where she would be like the feature character. Keep her off of all Pride merch. So it's like, look, DC has said it without saying it. What are your thoughts on Diana casting spells? I like it because it's like Diana would be like somewhat magical, and Absolute obviously goes full into this. And this is also why I called Darksiders 3 an Absolute Wonder Woman game, because it's like you're playing as a character that's like a female warrior, like hardcore, has a whip-like weapon, and can cast spells and use magical powers. This is what you get for giving Wonder Woman a lasso of truth to get the answers out of criminals, where Batman uses fear and Superman is Superman. Yeah, exactly. Truth. Yeah, exactly. The idea of Diana having magical abilities could be awesome. Yeah, exactly. I'm fine with Wonder Woman being able to use some magic. Now, it shouldn't be like a crutch, because Wonder Woman is no pushover. But it's like, yeah, exactly. But it's like, as long as like it's not like her only ability is like all of her stuff is replaced by magic, I'm fine with that. I have no problem with that. But it's like, hey, if that's the way they want to do it, it's fine by me. Definitely fine by me. What else do you guys want to talk about before I log off for the day? To me, she is oddly a queer icon who is sometimes portrayed as straight and sometimes bi. The whole idea of women pulling magic to create a child and raise. Oh yeah, 100%. It's like, let me put it this way. I'm not saying she's not an icon, but it's like canon Diana is. DC has indirectly said she's straight, so it's like, yeah, it's not gonna like deal with that. NJ says, personally, for me, all Amazons, including Diana, are bi. Concept of gender is meaningless for them. Yeah, but then how come she's never dated women or shown romantic interest in women? That's the thing. But it's like, okay, and again, NJ, you can see them however you want to. I'm not like trying to discredit you at all because you're cool. You're always very like respectful on this channel. You're always welcome. Just want to say that. What do you think of the witch aspect? Yeah, it's a cool way to like update Wonder Woman for like absolute, and plus a hardcore Wonder Woman raised in hell. That makes sense. And it allows you to like, because the other thing that I really love about Absolute Wonder Woman, it brings in all the mythology like Medusa and all that stuff that I think that like Kelly Thompson clearly gets mythology, because just looking at that, I'm like, yeah, you clearly understand this. And it's really, really, really dope the way that that Thompson completely like nails it, I would say. DC has shown alternate universe is different. Alternate universe is different because it depends on the writer. But if you notice, even here's the thing, Rucka addressed this because someone asked him about it. He goes, "Look, I see her as that, but guess what? It's not up to me." Yeah. And he says, I think DC shouldn't be homophobic, I think, because that's what they are going to do when we get John Kent. Yeah, but here's the problem. You need to be able, if as soon as they like have Diana come out as bi, they then cannot have her merch or comics in international markets or her movies per se. So guess what? That's not going to work. That's not going to really. It's not going to work from a business perspective. You have to demonstrate that would lead to such a business influx that DC should do that. And guess what? In recent years, that has been demonstrated as not. In alternate universe, yeah, he did. Old Man Logan. Bet Malgan says John is a little different for DC having him as bi is okay because he's not the code main character of a franchise. Yeah, exactly. It's different than Clark Kent being bi or Bruce Wayne, which none of them are. I'm just going to tell you that right there. But it's like, it's different than like the member of the Trinity. If it's John Kent, it's like, yeah, it's like not a lot of people care about John Kent. That's what I'm going to give you there in terms of that. But so what else? What else do you guys want to talk about before I log off? Because I'm about to lose my voice on this. But let me know what you guys think. Any concluding thoughts? Sometimes, even in canon, they indirectly imply. Imply is different. Like she and I don't have a boyfriend and girlfriend. That was, and she softly touched Batwoman's face and hair. Softly touches is not that, NJ. So it's like, so they're playing both ways. Yeah, but as long as they don't, it's like, let me put it this way. I think it's like Diana saying, oh, yeah, I'm not like against it, but let me see. I think for Diana being LGBTQ code, Sally, I think even a lot of people would think Diana being a strong buff woman is seen as, yeah, but here's the thing. With it wouldn't lead to the sales boost that Wonder Woman would need. So that's why I'm like, it's not worth it. Just don't even deal with it. Because you can say that like, because the way I see DC doing it is they're never going to confirm it either way, but they're going to indirectly confirm it by saying she's not. Like for femininity and strength are automatically queer instead of just anyone being strong. Yeah, exactly. Any upcoming projects or streams you are working on? And also, I can't wait to see what you... yeah. So tomorrow's Super Wonder Legacy, Britt and I are going to be talking about who Wonder Woman's World's Finest is. Shout out to NJ for recommending the topic. And so we got that for movie night. We're going to be talking about Wonder Woman this coming Saturday, the good Wonder Woman movie. And in terms of like Wonder Woman Wednesday, I'm still thinking about what I want to do this week. But what do you think of Yara? I like Yara. I think Yara could benefit from better writers. That's the thing. Yara is very salvageable, I think, if you actually have someone that like can really like develop the character really well. I think so. Like not saying LGBTQ, but vague implications. Yeah, exactly. But it's like, look, it's like Rucka said, yeah, I could see her like that, but it's not up to me whether or not she is or not. It's up to DC. Adding on to the fact that when Josiah Axelrod was writing the like Pride characters, like essentially handbook, it's like the coffee table book, the encyclopedia on DC's queer characters. There's like what's the word? There's someone asked her if Diana's going to be included in this, and then eventually, or like in any of the Pride books, and then Axelrod says, based on my conversations with people in charge of the character, the answer is no. So that tells me that DC is saying no. Let's see. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Jay. I'm sorry it took us so long to get to this topic, but we'll do it. She should be in a team, to be honest, not just the one. Yeah, exactly. By the way, that was last week's Wonder Woman Wednesday, where I talked about an all-female Justice League. But so Britt and I talk about how Superman is like her. We talk about the concept of a Superman Wonder Woman book, and then we talk about a female team up book. Well, I can't wait for the Diana and Crows crossover idea. That's this week's. That's like this coming episode of Super Wonder Legacy. Britt and I will compare Wonder Woman to Kratos and like how their story is similar. So you won't have to wait long, Parker. Wonder Woman 2009 is still my favorite DC anime movie. Yeah, it's like Wonder Woman 2009 is interesting because I used to. Here's the thing. Here's what the Tom King run did that's good. I went back throughout like all the Wonder Woman content I didn't like, and it led to a massive reevaluation. And it's like when I look at it, I'm like, oh, it's not that bad. It's actually pretty good. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. Graham, I'm glad I suggested the idea of that one time to you, Joe. Yeah, of course. How is Kratos similar to Wonder Woman? I can't. No, but it's like particularly the later Greek mythology, the later Kratos from like the more modern games, and like dealing with like a mythology, dealing with the gods per se. And you know what? You'll just have to check that out when the episode comes out, because it's gonna be a live episode, so you guys can be in the chat and talk to us about that. Let's play for a great showing and respect for Wonder Woman and Gigantia. Yeah, exactly. With Wonder Woman 2009, I like the idea of Ares being hated by Hades, so his defeat by Giant is like a Greek tragedy. Yeah, exactly. And you know what? We can talk about that movie at one point. That'd be fun. So let's go with our voting on next week's episode. So I'm going to start the poll. And then, so I'm going to put in a suggestion here. And we're going to, so we can talk about this. So let's do this. So let me go to poll. So next week's topic. I'm going to do this. Hang on. So the first option that we can talk about is how Wonder Woman was portrayed in Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League. Yes, we're going that far, ladies and gents. We can do Wonder Woman by Phil Jimenez. Then we can do Wonder Woman Rebirth. We can cover the Rebirth books. And then for our last option, let's go with Amazon's Attack. So let's go with this. All right, so here is your thing. Oh, I'm just going to... must contain between 1 through 5. Okay, so I'm going to do SSKJL. SSKJL Wonder Woman. Here you go. So start that voting. All right. So, which writers or stories do you think I need to read for Wonder Woman, given the gaps in understanding? Well, Perez, Jimenez, Rucka, maybe John Byrne, if that's your game. G. Willow Wilson for sure. I would imagine Steve Orlando is a good one. Mariko Tamaki. You also have, like, again, I said Gail Simone voted for Phil Jimenez just as I know he tried to do her well. Yeah, okay, that works for me. I'm cool with that. Let's see. And we also have Amazon's Attack. I have read some Rucka. I have the Gorgon specifically. Oh, that's a good one. That is a really good one. So far, Amazon's Attack is winning, where we're going to rant about how bad that story is. And Wonder Woman by Phil Jimenez, followed by second place. Oh, Phil Jimenez, Wonder Woman Rebirth got a vote. Okay. So let's see. Let's see who wins. Who will win this contest, if you will? There you go. It's a contest. I like that. I like that. Amazon's Attack is still winning. Suicide Squad kill. So that's what I want to talk about with that to kind of pitch it to you. Is how is she portrayed? Because people, because with all the issues that people have with that game, Wonder Woman's portrayal is not one of them. So it's like, I want to talk about how they got Diana so right in that game, as opposed to like the other parts of Wonder Woman, of like DC lore and such. So we can kind of play around with that. So yeah, if you guys want to talk about that, you could vote for that, or like any of these. So again, I say this every week, but all of these will be topics for streams down the line. It's just I like to involve you guys in picking out in next week's stream. And then the other thing that I will do, if the topic is Suicide Squad, is I'll bring up how I would have fixed. I respectfully disagree. She seemed to be a chump in her fights. And in the end, the only Justice League member to die in the DLC. Well, yeah, exactly. My man Suicide can't fly and is weak. It's one of her big issues. Yeah, we can talk about that. Either way, if you guys want to talk, because so far Suicide Squad is tied with Amazon's Attack. They both have 33%. And then Wonder Woman by Phil Jimenez is tied with Wonder Woman Rebirth. So whatever you guys want to do is fine with me. If the tie remains, I'll just pick one at random, and then we'll go off of that. But I'll give you guys a couple more minutes while I answer any last-minute questions you guys have. And yeah, so this was a fantastic stream. I love hanging out with you guys. Why was Amazon's Attack so bad? Because it was editorially forced, and it treated Wonder Woman and the overall DC universe, for the main part, as idiots, and it portrayed the Amazons as bloodthirsty warriors. Oh, trust me, there's so much of that. Also, why did they make such a story? Bees, my God, I know. It's I don't know why they made this story. It's such a stupid idea. But yeah, so let me know what you guys think. So it's still tied. I hope some of the writers understand that flight is one of her major power sets. Just stop. Yeah, exactly. I think they were done with Wonder Woman not being able to fly. I think we're done with that. All right. Since the tie is still there, I will pick. Let's discuss. I'm going to pick between Suicide Squad and Amazon's Attack, because that one is like, because those have the most votes. We'll talk about Tom King is not done with preventing Wonder Woman from flying. I know, right? I think Just Society should have a cameo and a brief appearance in the next Wonder Woman. Alan Richardson should totally be Wildcat. I could see that. All right. We're going to go with... We'll do Amazon's Attack. So, and next week, we're going to be discussing Amazon's Attack. And we'll talk about King's Wonder Woman's Cap. Yeah, exactly. So we're going to talk about Amazon's Attack and how that storyline was like really bad, and why Wonder Woman needs an event comic that's so good for her, because that would really help her world like be seen by a lot of people. But I think that's a good place to leave it. So hope you guys enjoyed this stream again. So to remind you guys, Super Wonder Legacy tomorrow is going to be about Wonder Woman's World's Finest. So it's going to be about the world's finest concept in general, how Superman can like fill that role with like the Superman Wonder Woman book. So she does also get disrespected. Do you think Snyder will ever do a Wonder Woman event? Maybe I would say so. But, and the other thing that the episode is going to deal with is like how she relates to like a select few female characters like Dinah, Mara, Jessica Cruz, Big Barda, and stuff. And then we'll also be discussing, let's see, what else? Well, and then Wonder Woman Wednesday. I think what I'll do for Wonder Woman Wednesday, and NJ, you inspired this as well, is I'm going to talk about just how powerful Wonder Woman is. Like all of her like badass feats. How do you think Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman, Wonder Woman team ups differ? Well, Superman, Wonder Woman Superman, Wonder Woman is more of like organic because Batman and Wonder Woman aren't really close friends. That's what I'm going to tell you that right there. But so yeah, Wonder Woman Wednesday, I'm going to talk about just how powerful Wonder Woman is because people don't know how powerful this character is. Like she is ridiculously powerful if properly written. And yeah, so and again, this is gonna be a Wonder Woman week because again, movie night on Saturday is gonna be Wonder Woman, the first Gal Gadot movie, and we'll talk about why that's so awesome. Stay heroic, everyone. Remember, Steve Trevor, Steve Never, and he belongs at the bottom of a hydraulic press at the maximum. And Zoe is the Maxibat for life. I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.